Plant questions today for Lisa Briggs from the Bruce Company.
You can email those questions to tips@channel3000.com. Hello, welcome
Hello,
back.
guys.
Lisa, good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Staying warm out there?
Yes, and you know things are weird when they get more snow in New Orleans
I
than we're
know.
getting here in Wisconsin.
Well, speaking of that, is our lack of snow going to be problematic for gardeners?
There are pluses to having snow and minuses, and then the converse is true as well. So I like the snow. It's a great insulator for newly planted plants, and also it's a really good water source in the early spring because it melts slowly and it goes into the ground and does not run off. But Gail, who is our garden goods buyer, she really is looking forward to this because she feels that without the snow cover and these cold temperatures, that the frost is going to go really deep and will kill off some pests, like especially things that have larvae in the ground, like Japanese beetles and June bugs and that kind of thing.
Great.
Interesting.
So it depends on your point of view, I guess.
Well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Well, someone has a question for you. My orchid has all these legs, roots, growing outside the pot in the dirt. Do I repot it all and put them all into the dirt? It's not flowered since the spring of 2022. Anne says thank you.
Okay, so those are aerial roots. Orchids are native to tropical zones, and they sort of attach onto another plant, and then they take nutrients out of the air and in the atmosphere, which works really well in the rainforest, not so much in your house.
Yeah.
So they don't need to be covered by your potting medium. They're fine. They're actually a really good indicator of watering as they turn more white and sort of silvery white. That's a good indication that you're not watering enough. So they're a lot of times, if the roots that are in your potting medium are rotting, you can use those to reroot the plant. But the best thing to do, especially if it hasn't flowered in several years, is to make sure that it is in a bright but indirect light space, that you put it on a schedule of fertilizer for bloom boosting, and that maybe it does need to be repotted and have that potting medium refreshed. You don't really pot them in potting mix. It's more like an orchid bark mix.
Okay. We have another watering question. Any advice for watering trees during the winter, especially trees that were planted in the fall? That's a question from Tom.
Yeah, and that speaks to what we were talking about earlier. So what you're going to want to do, Tom, is if you planted things in the fall, especially if they are evergreens, if we don't get snow and then we get an early spring, you're definitely going to want to haul those hoses out and do some slow drip irrigation with those plants early in the spring.
Okay.
And someone would like to know when to trim hibiscus plants.
So I'm hoping these hibiscus plants are in your house.
I love
because
just thinking about a hibiscus plant.
Well, there
right
are
now.
hibiscus that are hardy in Wisconsin, a couple different species. But if you're talking about the tropical ones with the big flowers, they do get a little leggy in your house in the winter. They don't, you just can't give them enough light if you don't have like a sunroom or a greenhouse. But you can prune them back anytime now. Just look for leaves or buds that are farther down, and then just trim back just atop those new buds or leaves.
Well,
Like
we're
a-
turning a corner. We're gaining
Yes.
more light now.
We are,
every
and-
day. What is it, like 25 minutes longer now since the...
I've noticed that when I drive home and get home at 5:30, it's still light.
Yeah.
Groundhog's Day is always the turning point for me, when you really notice that, or I notice on my schedule that when I drive to work in the morning at 7, it's light, and when I come home at
nice.
5:30, it's light.
Yeah, I would love some more sunlight. Just like that hibiscus plant. Well, thank you, Lisa.
Thank you,
welcome.
Lisa. Thanks for your questions, everybody.